All righty, and we're off.
Hey, that's a go?
That's a go, everybody. This is Brandon Hollinger. He has a company called Amp Revolt in Lancaster that is involved with converting gas vehicles to electric vehicles.
Thanks, John, for asking me to do this. John's one of a growing list of ultra cool people I've met solely through PlugShare, which is like the perfect companion. I'm sure a lot of you know about it uh, for EV owners. So I've known John for a number of years now. He's been to almost all my electric car shows we have downtown in Lancaster for the past 8 years. This is the first year we didn't do one. Still sad about that. But the year isn't over yet, though, John. So it could still happen.
Yeah, I know.
So I've always felt quite close to this Tesla phenomenon and the magic company of Tesla, and had a high respect for what it is they've done and continue to do. It's thoroughly amazing, though I've never owned a Tesla in the normal sense of the word, at least. More on that later. But my work with electric cars parallels Tesla's in the humblest way. But we both started this journey about the same year, over a decade ago. And it's kind of surreal to me to find myself enthusiastically working on cars, as I've been deeply invested in a career in musical performance for more than 20 years. But through a different lens, though, it kind of makes sense.
Just as a heads up, while Brandon's doing his presentation, if anybody has a question, just throw in the chat that you have a question, and I'll let you come off mute to ask your question. So just so you're aware. Oh, Brandon, did you lock up? Yes, he did. Technical difficulties. Hang on a sec, guys. Okay. He's out and he'll come back in. Sorry, guys.
Oh,
there you are.
Can you hear? Oh.
Yeah, you're just locking up periodically there.
That stinks.
You should still be able to share your screen, though.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, if that happens again, you might have to just leave the room and come back.
Can you hear me, John?
Yep, you're good.
Okay, sorry about that. I was just saying that it's kind of surreal that I'm working on cars when I've been really focused on music for the last 2 decades as a musical performer. But in another sense, though, it does make a lot of sense. It was kind of the perfect storm. For as long as I can recall, I've been aware of our diminishing natural resources over time developed a deep distaste for the pursuit of oil and how that seemed to permeate our foreign policy. Pair that unrest with growing up in a family of doers and makers, as they call us now. That my parents and siblings forged their own paths in accounting, fine art, and design, and my brothers and I all actually all randomly built weird bikes back in our teens. So that's Brian's on the left, and I built the one on the right there with some friends I made during a pretty formative year in Germany, a land I observed to be well ahead of the curve as far as being environmentally conscious and respectful. My interest in curbing fossil fuel dependence culminated in 2008 when I realized that I couldn't reconcile my personal values with my regular visits to the local gas station. Considering the pros and cons of all the alternatives, I quickly concluded that the merits of electric drive far outweighed the other options, many of which rely on a generous amount of electricity themselves for refining, pumping, compressing. So this is my first EV conversion as it appeared on the front page of the Sunday News. It's been on the road since March 2009, and it's my daily driver still today. Originally outfitted with a half a ton of old school golf cart batteries, I've had the EV fever ever since, and promptly started building more for friends and family while selling and supporting conversion kits. After nearly a decade of juggling EVs and music, I gained the momentum to give up 80% or so of my music gigs and just went all in for electrified transport. I was pretty charmed by this technology. For the past year and a half, I've been operating out of a old auto parts house in downtown Lancaster, and it's been something else, I'll tell you that. I just dove in the whole way, like I've been dying to for the past 9 years. We're heavily invested in R&D right now and have made it our mission to bring the EV conversion up to the highest standards possible. But for some 30 years, EV conversions were done with the same basic approach. Get a small or lightweight vehicle. You couldn't do big ones because the range would have been pathetic. Made up a DC forklift motor to the stock manual transmission because automatics would be too energy inefficient. Weld up some bed frames into a battery rack and then drop in as many golf cart batteries as you possibly can. And then go have a blast. And it really was a blast. From there, as they became available, we started using prismatic lithium iron phosphate cells, which are a different flavor of cell than what the OEMs are using now. And as I understand it, in China, there's a whole generation of Model 3s that are using similar cells to these, which I find it hard to believe that they're getting 200 miles out of these. So they must be doing something right. But as far as energy density, they're I would say half as energy dense as the ones that you're finding in the Teslas, the normal Teslas. So we were using these. I was told they come from Chinese Air Force. They were designed for them. I should really confirm that, but that's crazy. These are much lighter and more powerful than the lead acid we were used to, and amazing cycle life. By upgrading the battery, you upgrade your car, right? So you can enjoy tons more range and power. I've actually had the Saab up to 100 miles an hour, and last week broke 90,000 electric miles. Here's an apples to apples comparison for the most part. We tripled the range overnight, doubled the top speed, and still lost weight. So I guess 80,000 of the 90,000 miles I have on this car are all with the same prismatic lithium pack. And it's not showing any signs of, or it's not showing much sign of degradation. Still gets 120 plus miles range after all these years. Knock on plastic. Introduce production / OEM level batteries and components. And now that there are some, and we are set to triple range and power a second time over a relatively short period. This is a kind of a projection of where the Saab might be if it was filled with Tesla modules. Much like an organ donor, the total electric vehicle can be an incredibly very valuable resource, much like offering a lifeline to a patient in need. The vast majority of necessary EV components can be provided without the need for additional manufacturing. The result, 2 vehicles would effectively be merged into one sustainable, future-proof, domestically fueled ride. Our team at BH Electrics, or also known as AmperVolt, has been focusing on electrification of light-duty trucks lately, now that appropriately sized batteries and motors have become available. For example, the electric driveline we have chosen for a recent delivery van build comes in at more than triple the power and less than half the weight of the petroleum power plant being replaced. And our lithium-ion batteries of choice are reportedly lasting 300 to 500,000 miles, due in part to an advanced thermal management system that we've also integrated into our design. Just a couple glimpses of the more recent stuff we've been working on. As we start to use OEM components, we're realizing there's a number of ways we could do it. The motor, for example, could be used as intended, like in the rear subframe of a Model S. So in this scenario, we retained that. Here's a test bench demonstration. We also, I don't know if you've heard of Rich Rebuilds. A lot of people have come in contact with that YouTube channel now. So I was asked by Sam here to help with that build. I did almost all the wiring and cabling of that build. Also, the car behind us was his first one, and I did a lot of the work on that. It is a great snapshot of Rich there during his first test drive of the Audi. But what's unique about his is that he separated the motor from the inverter, which has very rarely been done. Then you can also add in, turn the motor longitudinally and choose to use the entire diff that normally turns 2 half axles. And we have developed a nice adapter, really elegant, that harnesses both female splines and can actually turn one drive shaft instead of 2 half shafts. So that's what we've got going on right now in our delivery van build for a young guy in Florida. He's going to be using this van as a traveling kind of RV. It's got domestic water tanks and everything, and solar on the roof, of course. And yeah, it's quite the build. The inverter on board, I should say the auxiliary inverter, that's really there for the solar, has the ability to provide 240 power off of the 85 kilowatt battery. And so he can actually charge other electric cars at a decent rate. Help them out.
Right. This is on a Sprinter chassis, right, Brandon?
That's right. That's a 04, I think an 04 Dodge Sprinter 2500. That's extended height, extended length. So that's capable of carrying 8,500 or 8,500 pound gross weight. And the thing is, because we have a 10-to-1 or so gear ratio in the Tesla drive unit and a 4-to-1 more or less gear ratio in the rear end, we're at 40-to-1. So we needed to do something like about that, otherwise our top speed would not even be highway. So we got a hold of this great solution, which we now carry on our store, where we can take the 9.73 and reduce it to 4.1 within the gearbox of the Tesla. So that is going to take us from a 40 mile per hour top speed to probably 80. But we still have a gear advantage that Tesla doesn't. We're still like 20-to-1 instead of 10-to-1 from motor to wheel. And that is a frighteningly high amount of torque. That van, I can't wait to time in 0 to 60 because it's going to be insane. Because we got the Tesla torque and double the ratio as well. Here's the last look at the original 9.73 to 1. And then here's the new one. Here, the 2 gears on the left is the 4.5 to 1. So it would have been unusable on the highway without this. We also, because we're adopting a very special battery, we felt the need to also adopt the thermal management that really Tesla uses. And we want to take care of the battery just like they do. And so I brought over basically the whole thing. Physically, it's all there. Now we're developing the brain that will control that. Now, this is a test bench. This wouldn't go in the vehicle itself here. This is what we use to get things programmed. It's going to need software, special software, and that's going to be our display for the time being that ends up in the vehicle. This does way more than thermal management, but that is one of the bigger jobs, one of the more important jobs of the VCU. Basically, it's going to control the whole vehicle and handle all the solar functionality, and it'll know all the climate control and e-brake, door open, you name it. That'll all be happening through this system.
So as I understand it, Brandon, you have an 85 battery pack?
We do, but we could upgrade to 90. The way I have it set up, we could upgrade to 90 in a matter of hours.
Okay. And so then this is the bench that you're using to test all the sensors for the battery system, right?
Correct. This will be incorporated into the vehicle Um, and it won't, obviously be that size anymore. And a lot of this has to do with just making it configurable so we can use it on other builds as well. I have a feeling we're going to have to reverse engineer some other vehicles in the future. So it's kind of done with that in mind. Oh, there's a nice shot of the Sprinter before the motor went in. That is the bench test when it was set up for that. So batteries, though, there's also a variety of ways to use the batteries. The Sprinter actually uses the battery as seen here in the first picture, but basically everyone else, as far as I know, pulls the modules out, and we've certainly we're not above that either. It's a great way to have more flexibility, of course, and you don't need to use all the modules. Certainly don't. You can have a vehicle that runs on any voltage. So to feel good about using these cells, I mean, I expressed concern about treating them right thermally, but physically as well. They got to be insulated from vibration and protected from as best possible. And our design we finally came up with, this is like a third rendition, turned out to be a modular design that I'm super excited about. So the taller, the taller boxes in the photo are made up of the same pieces that are found in the small box, just more of them. So if you were to reconfigure your batteries and put them into another car down the line, because they're still good, you could take a tall box and make it into a shorter one, or vice versa. They are totally modular. And CNC, this is CNC friendly design here.
Head of a bank for the heavy duty craft, which is the kind of Plutocrats Association of America. It's the CEO's club.
So they're not only modular vertically,
big company CEOs.
And they can be positioned sideways, as on the left there, but they can also be side by side configurations where they will bolt together and have a pretty amazing strength. But I like that the batteries are so much smaller in mass than I'm used to, that there's always extra room lately. So I've been attaching the charger, the BMS, the Wi-Fi, if there is one, a DC converter, attach that to the actual battery box, and end up with basically 80%, 70% of your build is already done. You can do it on the bench test. You can do it, I mean, you can wire it on the bench. And so it's a real nice way to work. So basically, if you have these all built, configured, and wired ahead of time, you could upgrade. I've got a lead acid truck that I bought from somebody in Westchester, and it's a fine truck, but the batteries, will get me 30 miles range or something like that. So I got it in my head I was going to take 2 of these boxes and do a very, very brief upgrade to lithium. And so basically in just a few days, this went and lost 1,100 pounds, this vehicle, by going from 24 lead acid batteries, 66 pounds apiece. That's 1,500 pounds, I believe, to 8 Tesla modules, which is half a Tesla pack. So there were 4 up front, and there were 20 in the back below the bed. And then just had I had a little bit more time to prepare, we would have been rolling in one day. I had a nice little team here that day, and we made some really good progress. So I don't have a range or any specs on this vehicle yet. I'm still doing the thermal management, but it's going to probably be 3 or 4 times the range it used to be. We're looking at well over 100 miles. And now, before, because it was full of lead and acid, the payload was greatly reduced, right? So now, now it'll be able to carry just as much as it ever could, because we're probably going to be very close to stock in terms of weight. And that's pretty much what I was planning to talk about.
Cool.
That is very impressive.
You like that, Mike?
It's super addictive. Yeah.
Okay. Are you done with the screen sharing, Brandon? Because I'll take that down if you're done.
I am pretty much done with screen sharing.
Okay. Let's see here. Where are you? There you are. Bingo. So you've done, as I understand it, I know the Saab is your daily driver. Whoops, hang on. We'll let Vic jump in. Go ahead, Vic, come off mute and go for it. Vic's got a question.
Okay, just 1 or 2 questions. Do you have an average price of what you would charge to convert a car? Just a ballpark figure?
Yeah, if we're doing it in-house, and it's going to be highway capable, which most are going to be, right? Some people do prefer a grocery getter, and that makes a difference. But I guess my really quick answer is 30 to 50 grand.
Okay. Now, what are your expectations in the future? How big do you want to go with this?
I, like many of my colleagues, are dying to do the same vehicle twice, because the price would come down tremendously. So you might have seen, someone's talk about the Porsche earlier, that they're getting ads about converted Porsche. So there's a lot of kits out there that are kind of popping up. Friends of mine, they pick their favorite vehicle and they decide to make a kit for that. And they pick something that's fairly popular, like VWs or Porsches are most popular, I think, for kits. Maybe some Fiats, the old school Fiats. But we are, we're thinking along the lines of similar lines, but also, like I said earlier, like light duty trucks. So we can bring the cost down and maybe do some fleets for, we've been talking to a couple cities about greening their fleet.
Just one more question. Do you have a lot of competition, or many people in the United States doing what you're doing?
I wouldn't say so. I think I know most of them personally, and I like to keep in touch. It's a great crowd, and historically very open with what they've learned, and so I try to be as well. And we sell kits too, so you don't, there's a fair amount of the population that's interested in building their own, and I'm a perfect example of a long shot. As a musician, I jumped in, and it really was doable. If you're patient, resourceful, and somewhat careful, you can probably do one of these.
Okay, thank you. That answered my questions.
No problem. Thanks, Vic. Anybody else have a question? You can come off mute if you like. Okay, that was easy. So the Saab's been your daily driver. I know you have what year is your London cab, your London taxi?
Oh, the 71. There was a couple shots of that, but I also have some background that are kind of two fun shots before and after. And I don't need to be in this. Can
I have a question when
see
everybody's
that,
done.
John?
Hey, Ray.
Is that showing, John?
Yep, it's showing. Yep, it looks like a gas engine with an air filter.
That's the before in the British black cab, and this is after, basically before we put the battery in. But that's an apples to apples comparison. That there's a power plant and power plant. They're both power plants. You don't see the gas tank up front, do you? So that's a fair comparison. And once we got the batteries in, it looked more like that. So there were batteries up front and back in the back. But
Yeah, I love that taxi. That's one of my favorites.
yeah, it turned out nice.
Yeah, I think Ray, you have a question?
Here's a-
Oh, there it is. Yep, that thing is awesome. That worked.
I have a question.
Ray, come off mute if you have a question, but
Who's up?
Ray,
If I understood it correctly, most of your sourcing batteries right now are coming from Tesla, basically salvaged Teslas. Is that correct?
do you hear that, Brandon?
Sorry, yes, mostly coming from salvage Teslas. Correct.
I guess one of the things that Tesla said that they're looking to really get into the recycling. Do you see that as an issue and if going forward?
I certainly am following that story, as well as their interest in insurance, doing their own insurance. Both of those are facts worth knowing when designing a business around what we're doing. So I guess I'm not terribly worried, because all cars are going to be electric. Really, I mean, what percentage? Almost all, in a very, very short time. And if we have to, go through the process again, we will. But we've kind of figured out that we can do it. We can reverse engineer as needed, and I feel like it's going to be accessible. It's not going to be like starting from scratch, you know what I mean? So whether it's Tesla or Ford or Nissan, we're going to have better toys to play with and put in our vehicles no matter what. Tesla certainly is the gold standard.
I mean, the 18650 cell that Tesla had been using is, as I understand it, that's a fairly common cell from Panasonic, right?
The 18650s, I thought they were using Panasonics for a while.
Well, I'm saying, yeah, that is Panasonic cell, but my understanding is Panasonic didn't just make those for Tesla. That, I mean, you could buy an 18650 battery.
I suppose, but knowing the modules like I do now, I don't know. Not too excited about making my own. They're really quite.
You don't want to tab weld all those batteries.
They're really quite something, man. Yeah, and those wavy coolant, those coolant pipes, or for lack of what do they call them? There's coolant running between the cells, and I think they realize now that it's way more effective to cool the tops and bottoms of the cells as we're looking towards the next generations of battery packs. But personally, I've got very little interest in producing my own battery. I think we'll be able to find one that's pre-made. And that's the fun of this, is that we get to use and make use of amazing amounts of engineering that's already been done. It just, it's quite a cool opportunity.
I have a question if I can.
Go for it, Ray.
All right. So this intrigues me so much, and I'm so happy to meet you. Before, becoming enthralled with Tesla, I used to love Lexuses. And I loved like an old LS. And I always told myself that I wanted to take an old LS and, swap it out and put an S's guts in it, per se. Sorry, I had to get my son dressed. And now, like, the logistics of all this, like, because honestly, my expertise is not in anything engineering or anything electric, but it's just amazing. And then I guess, honestly, maybe I just wanted to say something. Then honestly, the pricing, so you said it's between 30 and 50 grand.
I'll just say one more thing on that. If it was a car, and you could have, I kind of already did, but if it's a car what we've done already, it would greatly affect the price.
Because my thing was, I've bought in cars on Copart and other auction situations and stuff, and you can get these cars that have damage that Tesla will not be comfortable putting them back out on the road, and the batteries and the engines. So was that 30 grand or 50 grand with you supplying the parts, or does it make it cheaper if the person that wants the conversion done supplies the parts for the build?
It doesn't, no, it's not going to help much because we're probably getting them the same way,
Okay. That's really cool. I'm gonna reach out to you myself because it's always something I wanted to do, but I knew I really never had the expertise. And I've always loved that car, but I wouldn't go buy a 94 Lexus and be like, yeah, this is my car.
Yeah. Yeah, once you go electric, it's really hard to go back.
Yeah, I don't think I can go back, honestly.
Yeah. I'm at 11 years now, and no way.
That's crazy, but that's really dope because, I mean, a lot of my love for Tesla was built on the fact of different things and watching Rich rebuilds. And then that Audi video was amazing. And then to hear and see a presentation from somebody that was a key component in that.
Yeah, that was an adventure working on that.
Yeah, that's really cool. That was all I wanted to say. Thank you, man.
Cool, man.
You're very busy now. Is there a waiting list?
I have the year pretty much planned out this coming year. So I guess so. I guess we have a waiting list.
And how long?
That feels nice to say. I haven't said that out loud yet, but I've got 3 cars scheduled right now. One of them is going to take a super long time. And the other 2 are pretty involved. So
Yeah, I assume the one you're talking about that's going to take a long time is the Benz, right?
yeah, the Benz is getting a full custom frame and chassis.
Yeah, tell us about that car, because that's a pretty rare bird when I saw that.
It is from what I understand, the first chancellor of Germany after the war. He drove one. There were so few made. They were made for diplomats and heads of state. The largest Mercedes ever built at that time. Some call it a limousine. And so anyway, it's named after this fellow, Adenauer. I guess it's a nickname. So people call them Adenauers after the Chancellor of Germany. And there were very few made. I understand there's 60 or less convertibles made. And my customer's got 2. One's a hard top that's been converted to convertible, and one is a legit convertible. So we're doing the one that's been converted as not to commit any crime for the purists. So it's already been operated on, but it's a beautiful piece. And that's going to have the full Tesla all-wheel drive if we can swing it, which I think as far as the conversion community goes, that's new. That hasn't really been done. I should say the van is going to be the first to get CCS charging. So that's a big first as well. I don't know anybody else who's doing CCS. I've heard some CHAdeMO, and I'm sure a lot of people are working on it, but it's pretty new as well for the conversion community.
Very cool.
200, I think our outlet or inlet is going to be rated for 200 kilowatt hours. Kilowatt.
Kilowatts for truck.
That's a fair amount.
Yeah.
Do you advertise or this is all word of mouth?
Oh, there's no need. Yeah, it's somehow I haven't been on the news for over a year. BBC did one, but somehow people have been finding me steadily throughout the decade. I've been very blessed with some really nice coverage, media coverage, with Time and Philly Inquirer, and then last was BBC Business. But that always helps to get the word out.
Or you can meet him like I did, which was I had my house listed on PlugShare, and he was running out of charge in the Saab one night.
Yeah, I'm so fond of PlugShare.
So is most of your business domestic? Or is it all over the world?
Mostly, yeah. But it's a phenomenon that's happening globally for sure. Some countries more than others. Like I haven't heard a lot about Germany, and perhaps because regulations, I'm not sure. But the freedom we have to do this here is I definitely appreciate, because it's nice to have some other possibilities. And in fact, we'd started doing this because there was nothing available. You could only drive electric if you built something. And right as we started, the Roadster came out, and then a year later, the Leaf. So we were at the tail end of the vacuum, the EV vacuum.
Maybe you could explain how you go about registering a rebuilt car like this with so you can get a set of plates on it. Title.
I guess I've just been lucky. I don't have a story to tell you. And I haven't had to register a car myself in a long time.
Well, isn't your Saab registered?
Sure, but I don't remember how I did it, and it wasn't a problem. That's all I can tell you.
Yeah, as far
things might have changed since then. I don't know.
as far as DMV is concerned, I mean, you still have a VIN on the vehicle. They don't care how you put, what kind of motor you have, and if you change the motor in a gas car to a different gas motor, it's not going to affect how you register it.
It's such an outlier that they're not looking for. They don't really have a box to check for converted vehicle. Maybe rebuilt, but that even wasn't. That didn't really even come up. As long as you have a place to inspect you, you should be fine. And I'm sorry I don't have more information on the registration.
I've done with I've recertified titles from salvage and stuff. It's a difficult situation, but if you have a good shop, you're kind of good because they can nitpick with you. So the first car I did was a 2003 Lexus GS. And the first guy I took it to wouldn't pass. I was missing receipts. He wanted everything. And then I found another guy who basically just passed me through.
I see.
Yeah, but it is a difficult situation. But you are right. On conversions, there's not a box for conversions. Like,
right.
There's not.
Who knows if there ever will be, honestly.
Well, hopefully, eventually, they will adopt more of a situation where they look at it more as California. Because I know California has so many conversions out there. They have to have something for it.
Yeah.
So hopefully one day.
Yeah, the reality is, I mean, you're not necessarily dealing with a salvage title here. If you're just dealing with a vehicle that's old and worn down, as long as it hasn't been, wrecked in a junkyard somewhere, you shouldn't really run into any registration issue.
And on a practical level, we're not changing anything structurally. We so rarely make any cuts in the vehicle. It's kind of a goal to not cut, weld, or drill, with some exceptions. Now I did a Jolly Fiat that was known for being rare, right? So it took more time and effort, but we we did that treatment, just in case he ever wanted to take it back to gas and sell it. We did zero cutting, welding, or drilling on that vehicle. But if we were to, and I certainly have done some cutting, and if we do, we certainly don't go anywhere near frame numbers. So in a UD body, you use common sense, obviously. Very little cutting.
You have problems finding good employees to work with you?
Well, since I've been goofing for 9 years before we went brick and mortar, I've had the luxury of cherry picking the guys I've worked with over the years. And I got off the phone today with somebody who's legit leaving his job to come and work with me. And I've got a new intern coming up from Alabama in about a month, who's going to be all in. He's moving up here for this. And that's the kind of people we're looking for. They're passionate and are ready to kind of see the long view, because as far as I can tell, this is not going to go away. And since we put up our web store, which is a decade without a web store, so we've been all word of mouth. But now that we have a legit web store, I've seen today I took notice of the curve. It's only been a couple months, but it's a pretty steep curve. It's going pretty well, and I haven't even advertised on social media yet. And by advertise, I mean post. There's no need to pay for advertising. Word gets out pretty well. So people share this stuff like wildfire. So.
I was going to say, I run a bunch of different Instagrams. So if you ever have anything that you just want me to promote, just send it to me. I'll just post it regardless.
Sweet. Will do. Thank you.
All right.
I have a question for you then.
Go for it, Dale.
Two things. I think you would need to get a reconstructed title in Pennsylvania
Yeah.
if you change the car. I am a certified inspection mechanic emission, and you can't make those changes and without getting a reconstructed title, because you're changing the car.
Right.
If you change anything emission wise, it's not legal. Now you don't need emission because you have zero emission. So all you really need is a safety inspection on a completely electric vehicle.
Right.
But the question I have is kind of a little off topic, but you seem to be very into Teslas and the electronics of it. Is there a way to take like an X or regular Tesla and change it to vehicle to grid?
Haven't gotten into that side of things, so I can't say, unfortunately. And I thought they would come with that ability by now. They don't do that.
No, they don't do that. And actually, Tesla's actually taken a pretty strong position that they never will.
Weird.
But the reason,
I think they said the Roadster used to do that.
yeah, it did.
Yeah.
But the real logic behind that, Dale, is it would compete with their Powerwall.
Well, it wouldn't really compete with a Powerwall because I'm trying to get 2 Powerwalls for over a year, and I just can't get anywhere with Tesla. I've even paid for them already, and nobody gets back to me.
Yeah.
But what I was hoping for is that because we would use a lot of power, or we could use a lot of power, it'd be nice that you'd have your vehicle also hooked in with the Powerwalls.
Oh yeah, I agree. I think that would be a no-brainer. I don't know how, I mean, my thought process would say that it's probably something that could be done, but what that would do to your warranty or Tesla's willingness to even look at the vehicle after you did something like that might be questionable.
I didn't know what it would involve, what you have to tap into to accomplish that, basically.
I saw some verbiage from Tesla too. I think it was under one of Elon's tweets or something, or someone underneath him, pretty much saying another stance on it is they don't want people to be their car to be powering the house, because then if they have to go somewhere, they won't have any charge in their car if that's your only car. But I think the real answer is the Powerwall one. But they come up with all these other excuses why it's not good. Also, all the life cycling of the battery, they think it's going to kill your battery faster.
Right, but I was thinking more of just an emergency situation.
Yeah, well, and
You
that's
know,
when
I
they,
realize if
they
you
go
get
on the other
free,
one too.
well, I realize
Right.
if you get free supercharging, there's going to be some people who live near a supercharger are going to fill their car up, go home and power their house. But
Yeah, that would
they,
have
they
been
could,
crazy.
they could certainly tell that. They could see how much mileage you put on the car and how much you use. So,
Yeah, I heard that that there is some optionality for it in software because there might be an EU regulation that might force their hand in Europe to require it. That's what I heard about.
Yeah.
Um,
It's actually been done, Dale. I mean, I know for a fact that there's a guy named Jason Hughes down in, I think he's in North Carolina, who has definitely done that. But as to, you know, if anybody's just done that privately as part of their gig, that I haven't heard of before. Jason just has a tendency to test all that stuff just to see if he can do it. So. Okay. Well, if there are there any other questions for Brandon, and feel free to come off mute. Okay. Well, if not,